Press the bell icon and hit the subscribe button for more Filme Shilmy updates.
Hardik, first of all, thank you so much for joining me today for this wonderful In Conversation with. A huge congratulations on Kaamyaab.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I think I've got to begin by saying, as we've seen in Bollywood, there's been a lot of films which sort of revolve around the film industry itself. So what prompted you to kind of make a film like Kaamyaab?
Two reasons. One was that हमने बचपन में बहुत सिनेमा देखा है. I have grown up on the mainstream films that were being made in the 90s and early 2000s. And in fact, if you see, when we were as kids in 90s, the reruns of the films of 70s and 60s used to be shown on Z Cinema, Star Gold, and all of these channels. And they used to have this typical formula, about that, hero के बाप का खून का बदला लेना है, and then there is going to be this villain, and and there are going to be this array of characters from a supporting actor, hero का दोस्त, to a Munim ji, to henchman, to all of these characters were always given their cliche lines. They used to do always this stereotypical acting, and एक बंदा जब अगर henchman बन गया तो वो जिंदगी भर henchman ही रहता था, मतलब So I had this pure love for the kind of films that were getting made in 90s and 80s. So I thought that if I have to make a first film of mine, it has to be about something that has to be very close to my heart, And the second reason was I was looking at wanting to make a kind of a film which is slightly different than what what films are getting made. So I mean, it's also because if it's your first film, you would want to make it in a certain way where it is not like too much budget is involved, and because I don't come from a film family or from connection, so it wouldn't be easy for me to get even a 10 crore budget. Even that's like Kaamyaab was made in a very small budget. I mean, 1/3 of 10 crores actually. So yeah, so that's why I was very sure that one, I had to make a small budgeted film, and at the same time I had to make something that is very close to my heart, which is of course this mainstream cinema and all of these character actors which I used to love. Sudhir and Ranjit and Bob Christo, and Norma ji and Leela Mishra and Guddi Maruti ji, and all of these people who were like are always a part of our movies and a part of our childhood.
Yes.
So yeah, and Anuj, to tell you something that films about films are generally not looked upon in Bollywood system. Like they want to make action thrillers, they want to make films about social subjects and all of that. But if you say that my film is about films, then no, not a lot of people will show interest, and studio executives would be like, oh, we love you, you are talented, why don't you bring up some another story, why this, and I said that this hasn't been told till now. I mean, this perspective, this point of view of a side actor hasn't been told till now. Though Om Shanti Om did tell about a junior artist, but then Om Shanti Om was in a glamorous world,
and space. Yeah,
it had a different appeal to it, and I wanted to be a little more realistic in my approach, and I wanted a certain documentary kind of an element to bring in, which is why we got somebody like Sanjay Mishra, who himself has seen this journey of a character actor, and somebody who can shoulder a film on his own. So yeah, so these factors actually came together to make Kaamyaab.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it's wonderful to hear this perspective as well. But obviously the film provides a voice to the lost gems of cinema, or to the forgotten gems of cinema. So what exactly prompted you the choice in actors? I mean, how difficult was it for you to avoid getting a commercial actor for a film like Kaamyaab?
Yeah, actually, Anuj, when I was first pitching this to another producer, they mentioned that we should bring somebody, a superstar, like and he should play a character actor, and I thought that probably would defeat the purpose of making a film like this. I mean, a film like this arises from empathy. You have to have the kind of empathy with your protagonist, and that protagonist has to personify that world. It can't be that he comes from a different world where कि अच्छा इसका बेटा तो already superstar है और इसको मैं ऐसे देख रहा हूँ struggle करते हुए, then मुझे feeling भी नहीं आ रहा है, मतलब क्या रे यार, come on. Which is why an authentic casting was very important for a film like this. Thankfully we were also limited by budget, so we knew that we can't reach to the world out there. We only had that range.
Yeah.
And actually, to be very honest, to me Sanjay Mishra is a superstar.
Oh,
To
God,
me,
yes.
he is the kind of a guy who brings so much nuance, so much reality, and yet he keeps it very engaging and entertaining all the time. He just because he's trying to act real doesn't mean he's going to bore you. That is something that is so cool about him.
Sure.
Even for other actors, like Deepak Dobriyal. Deepak Dobriyal has been such a fabulous actor. You watch any of the films, you might forget the lead actors, but you will always remember Deepak Dobriyal because he comes up with great charm, with great one-liners, and this full persona. So when it came to casting for Kaamyaab, we ensured that we took two routes. One was that we wanted all the people who were with Sudhir, which is Sanjay ji, all filmy people, to be actual real filmy people, from Avtar Gill to Guddhi Maruti ji to Lilliput ji to all of those people, Isha Talwar. They were all filmy people who were actually in the film industry, in Kaamyaab. But the whole other aspect, the second aspect, was the real aspect, which is his daughter, his friend, his granddaughter, and his son-in-law. All of those were actually real people, the kind of faces that you generally don't get to see daily. So we kind of balance that both these real world and the filmy world to make something like Kaamyaab, and that was the approach in casting the actors in Kaamyaab.
And what a great approach it was. I mean, I've just got to, as I said, I'm a huge fan of the film. I mean, you've read my review, and I think we've spoken at length about it,
Yes.
off the camera. But I think, the last scene, oh my God, I don't think there's been a more heartbreaking yet beautifully shot scene, Hardik. I mean, it kind of reminded me of, I believe, was it the Mahabharat scene that they had in Janhvi Do Yaro? It kind of reminded me of that. I mean, was that your main source of inspiration when shooting that ending?
Actually, main source of inspiration, Anuj, you would be surprised, is my own life, because I am a trained dairy technologist in BTech in dairy and food technologist.
Yeah.
And in my college, whenever there used to be a chief guest which was supposed to come, and that chief guest would, if he or she was late, then my professors would often tell that, Hardik ko bolo kuch entertain kar de, matlab till the time the chief guest is going to come.
Yeah.
So I was always given that stage where I used to do mimicry of old artists, and I used to, sing a song, or maybe just keep the audience entertained till the chief guest arrives. So yeah, I think that actually was the inspiration behind a scene like that. But at the same time, the reality is that once the chief guest or once the star comes, nobody kind of then gives recognition to the guy who was always there till now, who was the one trying to entertain you while nobody was there. So yeah, it inspired from that. But also, Anuj, I like poetic endings. I like irony. I like the fact that visual speaks so much more because we are in cinema. I hate the idea of monologues. I mean, in fact, some people thought that, oh my God, Sanjay Mishra, after he finishes his act, is going to begin a monologue, and everybody was like, oh no monologue. And I said, no, wait, it's not going to be a monologue, but something completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that is what. And thankfully, Rachita Arora, who was our music director, did a fabulous job with the strings. In the end, when actually the guy arrives and Sanjay Mishra is there on the stage, and how the crowd turns and all of that. So it got that poetic ending thanks to great music also from Rachita.
And I think, speaking of poetic endings and poetry through the film itself, I think for me another highlight is that scene where he's sitting home alone, after that AD sort of tells him off on that big film set, and he sort of sits at home and he sees different reflections of people or things he would consider to be his weaknesses. I think that also was an amazing scene. What was
Thank
that shot like? I mean, again, where did you get an idea like that from?
An idea like that actually. See, one of the inspirations about nightmares, is a sequence that I really like was from Darren Aronofsky's film called Requiem for a Dream.
Yes.
In
Yeah, yeah,
in Requiem for a Dream, there is a fabulous sequence where that woman is alone, the old woman, and the fridge starts talking to her as if she's popping pills, and the fridge starts coming near to her. Almost like a non-living thing now started to has a life in it, as a monster in it, and is going to corner our protagonist. So that was one of the nightmare sequences that I really liked. So
Mm.
I thought, and because what was happening while I was writing Kaamyaab was that there were these numerous characters who, so the film is actually a one man's journey, but a one man keeps interacting with other people,
Other
you know.
people.
So and when he himself sees himself in a television, which is whenever he flips channels, there is a film in which he only is there, So whether he whatever channel he flips, there is a film of his own coming, It's something that actually happened, Anuj, with a guy, with an actor called Birbal. So
Okay.
Birbal ji is there in our film where he's in that bar sequence where he tells that ab to koi audition ke liye bulata bhi nahi hai. And
Ah,
Birbal ji is somebody who is acting since black and white films. Anuj, he's been
right.
acting since Manoj Kumar's days of Do Badan. He was there in Sholay also, जिनकी आधी मूंछ कट जाती है जेल में. So yeah, and Birbal ji, whenever I used to visit Birbal ji's home, he would be sitting in front of television, and whatever film he would be watching on the television would have him in that film also. So I went first time and he said, "अरे वो फरिश्ते आ रही है, मैंने फरिश्ते में भी काम किया था." So I was like, "Oh wow, that's great, sir." Then second time I went to meet him, there was another film coming and he said, "this film में भी मैं था." And I was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, what are the chances that every time he keeps watching any random film, और वो फिल्मों में वो था भी, So that inspired me to make that nightmare sequence,
right,
where he keeps flipping the channel and these people start coming out, and when you are actually very low in your life, the what pierces your heart is something that has been the most tragic event with that person. You won't remember the good times, but you will remember that bad time, or you will remember that moment when you were cornered. So
Yeah,
I
no,
think that is
absolutely.
the tragedy of life also, in a way.
I know it kind of reminded me of it's almost like as if he couldn't escape himself. It's almost like wherever he went, it's like he was trapped in this sort of cycle. It's almost it was almost very like scary. Like I remember watching this episode on Twilight Zone. And there was this episode about these mannequins suddenly of these serial killers moving towards the museum owner.
Ooh.
It kind of reminded me of that, and I was like, wow. You never were expecting something so scary, so I think it was amazing the way you did that. I think.
Yeah, and in fact, also because in the mirror, just before he has gone to the shoot, on the mirror he has written 499. So that is the ghost of 499 that all of these people are now kind of charging towards him, and he keeps looking at that mirror, and we keep zooming into that mirror where the camera, where that 499 was written, and then he hits with his hand on that 499 which is on the mirror, which kind of injures him. So his basically his own ambitions have led to his downfall.
Yeah, it's his conscious sort of eating him up slowly. I think that was again amazing, and I think you can tell how well that's been received by the audience, because I'm smiling like a newlywed bride right now as I describe these scenes. So I think it's wonderful, but I think it's also great the fact that we have big production houses like Drishyam Films and Red Chillies Entertainment sort of back such films, because like you mentioned, movies like these, would otherwise just be limited to film festivals, and that's about it. If they're lucky enough, maybe OTT platforms. So how did they come on board for Kaamyaab?
Yeah, the good part about Drishyam Films is that they really are, they really support the talent. They go by what the director or the filmmaker feels for the material. They kind of go out of their way to support in what is going to be in front of camera. So even while Kaamyaab might not have the greatest budget, but it never looks like a low budget film, no. because the producers were very, very sure that we have to make the film look good at the end of the day. You know, personally, me or a Sanjay sir or my cinematographer Piyush, we can limit our fees, but we should ensure that everything that we want has to look good in front of camera. Drishyam Films came on board once they had read my script. Manish Mundra had just produced Newton at that time in
Yes.
2017, and it was going to Oscars. And to me, I mean, for any filmmaker actually, that a producer whose film is going to the Academy, if he's saying yes to your film, then you suddenly start having confidence in your own
Yeah.
self that okay, maybe we've got something right for a producer like this to actually have a say or have a yes to your film. So yeah, and around 2017 end we had started our pre-production also. And till today, which is 2020, we are now talking. I mean, the journey of film has been 3 years, which is just the making. The script has been another 3-4 years. So I thought of this idea in 2013, in fact.
Wow.
But yeah. So once Drishyam came on board, they have been with me side by side through this whole journey. We went to a lot of film festivals. We were struggling with a little distribution, whether we'll make it to theatrical or not. But Drishyam Films was throughout there with me, and they in fact invited producers from Red Chillies to come on board and to see the film in Mami Film Festival in Mumbai. And that's where Red Chillies saw the film and they really loved it. And then the producers showed the film to Shah Rukh Khan sir. And I mean, once he said yes, it was like, I mean, for a small Kaamyaab, it probably was as equal to an Academy Award. That we have Bollywood's biggest superstar supporting our film, producing our film, tweeting the poster, launching the trailer and everything. I mean, that was dream come true. He organized a great grand premiere, like the 90s style with those red carpets and huge hoardings and all of that. And Shah Rukh Khan himself came for the film and all. It was a moment that we will never forget in our lives. So yeah. I mean, for a film that was so limited in its in its budget, but had a great idea behind it, and a great backing by Drishyam. I mean, we are very lucky and we are very privileged to be here now. So.
Definitely. But I think obviously, as amazing as the film was, I think everyone has given widespread positive reviews. I don't think there's one review that's been negative towards it. But unfortunately,
there was one. No, there were a couple, but there was one which was very nasty one, and I will remember that review forever in my life because.
Okay. What did they say? What did that review say?
I was shocked to read something like that reviewer said that it's a careless execution, and I was like, that's the last thing you might be able to say. I mean, you can critique the film. I'm absolutely okay with critiquing the film because there is my first film. I will learn much more from it. Healthy. I mean, even Anupama Chopra said great things, and she criticized some bits of the film also, which is completely correct, which I was very happy to learn from. But there was one nasty review, and that's a review I will never forget in my life. Well, I mean, I can forgive, but I will not forget.
Wow, I gotta be careful when next time I review your film. Then.
No, constructive criticism is very important. It's absolutely right to do. There are other reviews of Kaamyaab. There are a couple of other reviews which did constructive criticism, and they were right about some aspects which I probably overlooked. And that's absolutely fine. But saying something like this, like a carelessly executed film, I was like, dude, I've been with this film for 7 years.
Yeah.
Don't tell me I've given my life to this, so don't tell me it's a carelessly executed.
No, exactly. I mean, what was your initial reaction like when you saw that review? I mean, that must have been quite a bit of a knockback on you and your sort of vision, right?
Yeah, especially when it's your first film and you are not very, very much ready to, how to handle reviews or how to handle criticism. In fact, I was not reading all the reviews also. I just read a couple of reviews and all, but then one of my friends said that, did you read this review? And I was like, no. And then he sent me the link, and then I read it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a little unfair, but well, that's okay. Life is also like that, so we'll take it in our stride, and maybe we'll make another film where they will feel that it was not so carelessly executed.
हाँ, exactly. इस दुनिया में भिन्न प्रकार के critics होते हैं. So you
Yeah.
just gotta brace yourself for it, right? But I was gonna say actually, Hardik, the actual box office collections were not as big.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I know the film again was made on a shoestring budget, but I think having the backing after of Red Chillies and Drishyam films, did you actually have a sort of expectation of the box office outcome or how the film would significantly fare?
Yeah, I mean, it would be stupid to say that that I was not expecting any box office collection. No, of course, once you are going for theatrical, then you are going to expect a certain box office collection.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what happens with and I can be frank here that a lot of Indian audiences would be very wary of a small budget film coming, even though if they have liked the trailer, but they might not be very gung-ho about going and watching it on day one. If the word of mouth spreads, if people start talking about it, then there is a reason that they might be able to go and watch the film. And also but clearly day one or day two are not those days where actually a film like this would pick up. But we had a great marketing strategy. We had a very good promotions that were happening for the film, some really quirky material that Red Chillies had come up with. So I was very happy with the way the film was presented outside. I mean,
right.
We were also releasing in small centers, not so say small centers, but like the B towns, like the film was there in Baroda, in Lucknow, in Surat, and which are not B towns, to be honest. They are like the A towns of their state. But apart from metro, also it was released. So I was quite happy with the release. But yeah, I expected a little better box office collection, to be honest. But I mean, we might have also, if the film would have stayed for second, third week or so, because then by that time the word of mouth would have spread,
picked up.
And but then by the time 12th or 13th March happened, the theaters got shut. And because of the corona and everything, so then we didn't have a chance anymore. But see, I mean, life gives you its magic also, in a way that the film came on Netflix, and on 2nd or 3rd May it came on Netflix, and 5th May I think Polo Coelho tweeted about it, and since then
yes.
So many people actually started watching the film, and you won't believe, Anuj, from 4th May onwards till at least 16th May or so, I have daily got up to 15 messages on my WhatsApp or Instagram, or a daily 15 messages. And that is something that I am waking up to. In between the day, there are hundreds of other messages coming. That's a different thing altogether,
Right.
So, and then we started checking on Twitter and everything. And, a lot of people started tagging the film, the producer, Sanjay sir and everybody. And then Sanjay sir, like a child, was so excited. He started talking every day that, अरे गुरु आज उनका फोन आया है, आज उन्होंने देख लिया है, and all of that. So he was very happy, and so were we, of course, all of us, that finally the film got its due, the film that we were waiting since last 2 years to come on screen.
No, definitely. And I think I've seen Sanjay sir's tweets as well, and he's very enthusiastic and very, like, bless him. And I think it's important as well, because I feel, to some extent, like what Sudhir has gone through, I think Sanjay sir himself as well in his life has gone through, in a sense, like he kind of gets or receive or witness success and opportunities to such a level quite at a later and maturer stage of his life. So I think that's why he could possibly resonate with that as well, right?
Yes. I think that is the charm of Kaamyaab also, that without Sanjay Mishra, the film is nothing. I mean, he is the reason why the film is.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people would feel that would be semi-autobiographical in a way and all, but it's not anything like that. What is important is that we've actually made a decision of casting him, who has always been around Ajay Devgan sir or Akshay Kumar sir, So he getting his due, and because he is somebody who is very capable of shouldering a whole film. We have seen that with Aankho Dekhi, which had a great ensemble and a fabulous Sanjay Mishra, So I was very happy to give him this. I mean, I was actually elated the fact when he said yes. And he and Deepak both said yes to the film. I knew that कि अगर first time director को कुछ भी नहीं आता ना life में, at least अच्छे actors cast करना.
हाँ, definitely. Absolutely नहीं, बहुत बढ़िया बात कही आपने, क्योंकि क्या होता है जब एक director fresh off the boat होता है और जब वो एक ड्रीम करते हैं एक डायरेक्टर बनने के लिए तो एक stars in your eyes जैसा फीलिंग आ जाती है कि आप सोचते हो कि हाँ मैं बड़े बड़े एक्टर्स के साथ काम करूंगा. But the thing is, I think the word big itself, I think legendary, I think has been very overrated, and I think it's
Yeah.
romanticized for the wrong reasons. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's wonderful. And in fact, I'm glad you talked about the theme of Kaamyaab as well, because I believe both your feature films, actually, Ahmedabad Ma Famous and, of course, Kaamyaab, they both seem to prominently revolve around the themes of second chances and the struggle for a hopeful and better life. So is this something you also consciously think about and you sort of closely resonate with as well?
Yeah, I love I love the theme of second chances. Life has to give everybody a second chance. It does give also, if you keep your eyes open. But yeah, I mean, there is certain magic about it, I mean, you know what? When I was researching about Kaamyaab, the one fact that I really used to love, and the irony in that fact was that a legendary batsman, a cricketer like Don Bradman, who made so many centuries and made all his oppositions run around the field, got out at zero on his last innings. And if he would have just scored 4 runs, his total average would have been above 100. But because he scored zero in his last test match, his average was 99.96. So he couldn't do that three-figure average, which nobody in Test cricket has ever been able to.
Right.
So I think it's a great parable to something like Kaamyaab. That you want life to give you second chances. You want to do so much more in your second chances, but then there is only that much that you need to do, and also you need to understand that where your priorities lie. After a certain point of time in life, where does your priorities lie? What exactly does Kaamyabi mean to you? Kaamyabi may not be about climbing summits and breaking records and all. Kaamyabi might be investing that great personal time with your granddaughter and your estranged family, maybe. Especially in the last days of your life, maybe. So yeah, I mean, it's something like, so Kaamyabi has to be personal and not professional. And that is the aspect about life that I wanted to convey. That while a lot of people actually, Anuj, used to message me that this film is so close to us, and director of Made in China, Mikhil, who is a very dear friend, he said that Mikhil said that I was so heartbroken by the end of your film, because I could see myself in this story, and we all are going to go through this journey, that our ends are going to be tragic in a way, and we know that. And he mentioned this, that Hardik, I'm so happy that you have told a tragedy, but you have chosen a path of trying to tell a comedy only to arrive at a tragedy. So that is important, because if you tell tragedy like a tragedy, then people and audience would be like, okay, we get it, we got it. We don't emphasize it enough. But if you bring in some humor, if you bring in some life into it, and then try and tell like badi baat, then maybe the audience can digest that.
Oh, totally. And I think you're right as well, because success is very subjective. It's the way one interprets it. And I think it's a very important message. In fact, your life is a testament to that. I mean, I believe your journey commenced from dairy and food technologies and then copywriting before, you got a master's degree in mass communications. So, I mean, what has particularly fascinated you the most about cinema?
The fact that by one story you can captivate so many people. You can captivate so many people's attention when you want to say a certain story, and you can bring so much joy to people's lives. Joy, and of course a few nuances of life, a few bitter truths of life. If you can tell that through cinema, that is a job well done, I feel. But I mean, so that's something that I will be striving forever. Like, I mean, my journey has just begun as a filmmaker, but I think it's very important to give joy to people, because I, as a kid, when I saw Lagan in cinema hall, I saw the way people went crazy inside that theater. That theater had become a stadium. The way people were behaving, and I saw Lagan 5 to 6 times in a theater. Right. And that immense joy and that immense pleasure that film brought into our lives, I just felt at that time that although I was in school at that time, but I knew that yaar film banana hai, kuch bhi karna hai. Matlab, this amount of joy, if you can spread, if you can share with people these stories, stories that probably only you can say, and in a certain way, with a certain quirk, with a certain slice of life approach and humor and emotion, that really attracts me to cinema.
Hmm.
Also, I love humor and over the top humor sometimes a lot, because we've grown up on 90s films, Hasina Maan Jayegi,
Oh
Badshah,
God. Yeah.
hey, you name it, and the 90s were a whole big. It was like a pani puri stall, like you can enjoy so as much as you want. So yeah, I mean, if I can recreate that joy in today's audience and in people, then probably yeah, that is something that really attracts me to cinema.
Sure. And I think we as humans are sponges. We're like sponges. We absorb experiences, emotions around us. And the fact that you've obviously had experience of working with filmmakers like Anurag Kashyap and Vikramaditya Motwane, in your initial days, before you became a feature film director or a film director for that matter. So how has their sort of style and vision of cinema sort of influenced you to the way you make your films?
Their style or their approach in cinema that has influenced me is how they approach the medium. The content is always going to be personal. The story that I want to say is going to be very personal, that I want to say is not something that Vikramaditya can say or Anurag sir can say it, but I want to say it in my way. But the approach to the medium is something that I have learned very dedicatedly from them, because I have seen Vikram working very hard for his edits, for his shoots, for covering his angles, for understanding where to cover what, which shot to take when, what that kind of decision that happens, the floor plans, the shot division, that everything that he used to do, the amount of hard work that he would put in sound, music, edit, everything. If you see Trapped, you see the genius of that guy's usage of sound and music to convey a
Yes.
story which is still a one man's in within four walls, one man's story, but yet there was so much happening cinematically. So and I used to love the fact that Anurag sir used to encourage all of us to go out and make your own films, go on the street, take a camera and shoot it on your own, because not every time Anurag sir is going to be able to give his name to the film or is able to produce it for you, but you can
Sure.
still always so I always like to say that I am Anurag sir's Eklavya. I have never assisted him in any film, but I have always been around him to know that what is the approach that through which we can make our films. And it is actually their approach through which I could actually make something like Ahmedabad Ma famous, because here was a land that I am coming from where not enough documentaries, in fact no documentaries are made only in Gujarat, I feel, although there are, but they are really really minuscule, and I don't know why we are not making enough. So I wanted to tell a story about this kite runner kid, and we were just three people, Anuj, who were shooting the whole film. There was the cinematographer, there was sound recordist, there was me. I used to handle the tripod, I used to carry the lens on my shoulder, and we used to just go around and roam with that kid, because it is this approach from Anurag sir's school of filmmaking, that that you want to tell a story, pakdo apna tripod. You want to tell your story, go find your protagonist, go learn the edit, go learn how to use music in documentaries, use music in films and all of that. So that has clearly inspired me in how to make films. And something that I love is shooting in crowd, shooting, bringing life into the frame. I have also made this short called The Affair, which is about these couples that sit by the Burley Sea Face and Marine Drive, which is on YouTube. You can watch, and in that we've actually shot the whole film amongst those people who sit in evening on that promenade in Marine Drive. So it almost becomes like the scale of life has come into my camera, and I just have to capture it. I don't need to have 500 junior artists and make them sit on the promenade. So how to utilize that is something that I learned from their school of filmmaking.
Indeed, and I think they sort of are the initial filmmakers in this new age Bollywood, which really sort of brought realism to the mainstream and forefront. I think it kind of made us realize that sometimes Bollywood isn't necessarily about the fancy dresses,
Glamour.
the fancy glamour, exactly, the razzmatazz as they call it. So I think that's definitely something that I've heard. And also when I do watch Anurag Kashyap films, I can't lie, I do learn a new swear word at least once or twice with every film.
Believe that guy to make us learn something new.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. No, no, no. So true. And it's funny you called yourself Anurag Kashyap's Eklavya. So I hope your thumb is intact, right? उसने मतलब आपने अपना thumb तो नहीं काटा. अच्छा ठीक है. That's good. That's wonderful. But I think because of the fact that you mentioned Trapped, and I think a lot of the films that you've done actually have starred with Rajkummar Rao. So I'm
Oh
guessing.
yes,
So I'm guessing that's how your sort of camaraderie, your liaison with him began, right?
yes. I mean, Rajkumar Rao is a guy I would love to have camaraderie. Anybody would love to have a camaraderie with.
Tell me about it.
He's the kind of talent which can make a director an audience.
Yes.
You don't need to have to direct him, because you just give him a situation, you make him understand this is the world, this is the scenario, and the actor in him, the talent in him bursts out. It was absolutely my privilege to be around with him. I was assisting on Queen when Raj was starting in his earlier days, and he had this really small role with Kangana, but he did it so fabulously. Because he's the guy, the way he does a breakup with that girl is how the audience is going to empathize with Rani's character. So, and Raj, even in that 5 minutes, was so brilliant. Of course he comes later also in the film, again in Amsterdam, but yeah, I mean, overall he just brought so much energy to that character. Then of course Trapped, I had co-written, and I was on the set also with him, so there was so much just to see and observe and learn from him. So when I had an opportunity after Kaamyaab to make a mainstream film, I was very, very happy to direct somebody like Rajkummar Rao, and in fact it was Raj himself who had mentioned my name to the producer, Dinesh Vijay. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm very glad that it happened that way, that after Sanjay Mishra, if I got somebody to direct as the lead in the film, it had to be Rajkummar Rao. So really happy. And of course there is Varun Sharma and Janhvi Kapoor in the film.
Yes, of course.
And Varun's comic timing is absolutely brilliant. It gets even better in our film.
Oh yeah.
And Janhvi is absolutely is going to surprise everybody in the film. So,
do you know what? Janhvi has actually been a very, very surprise package, because even the film she's choosing, you'd expect her, I mean, being, of course, Sri Deviji's daughter, you'd kind of expect her to kind of do a lot of the sort of big films, like the big budgeted multiple films, which she's also doing as well. But she's also choosing films which are very, unconventional, dynamic, and on the edge. And I think that's amazing. I'm a huge fan of Janhvi's work. So.
Yeah, and in fact, you will see her progressing very fast, very soon. Of course, she's in the big league, but she will be also in the big league of not just stars, but also as actors, as you will see. That because the kind of films that she has picked up, from a Gunjan Saxena, which is a Air Force pilot film, from to a Dostana 2, which is a really nice rom-com dharma production style, to a RoohiAfza, which is a horror comedy, to something like the ghost stories that she did with Zoya Akhtar. So she has shown absolutely amazing range of work, and I think she right now might be very impatient, because all of this great work is she's just waiting for all of it
to come out and release.
And so am I also actually very, very impatient for RoohiAfza to come out and see and show Janhvi's talent to the world.
No, definitely. No, absolutely. But I think because obviously RoohiAfza is a very commercial space, it's completely different to what you've done before. I mean, for one, it's a horror comedy. And whilst we got a chota sa glimpse of horror in Kaamyaab with that scene that we discussed previously in this interview, I think it must be a complete 360-degree turn for you, right?
Yes and no, actually. But yes, a 360-degree turn, because when we started work on RoohiAfza, on the first day on the set there were 300 people, and I was like, I had to wish 250 good mornings, so I was like, oh god, this is like a huge set, huge amount of people, and they all are looking at me that, okay, what to do next now, so yes, it was a 360-degree turn in a way, because in Kaamyaab we were like 60-70 people, there was a limited crew. And I think that's the fun of shooting Kaamyaab. You can't shoot Kaamyaab with 300 people. Although for that sequence, that Maharana sequence, we had 200, 300 people. But yeah, I mean, but also see, it is not again a 360-degree turn, because you have to bring that same personality of yours to this film also. You have to bring that quirk. You have to have that confidence in you that this is not other Hardik that is required. It's the same Hardik that was required for a 3-people documentary, to a 60-people Kaamyaab, to a 300-people crew RoohiAfza. It's the same quirk that is required. It's the same. Maybe the pressure is a little more, but at the same time, just because the pressure is more, don't let it be too safe. Play with it, be adventurous a little, which is exactly why the producer has got you on board. So I was very happy that way, that we had a really, really fab team. I had Mrigdeep Singh Lamba, who has directed Fukre and Fukre Returns. He is the co-producer with Dinesh Vijan on RoohiAfza. He's also somebody who's written the script with Gautam Mehra. So I was very happy to have that kind of a support coming, and a kind of a full blowout that go ahead and you feel like the kind of location that you want, or the kind of quirks that you need to make the film entertaining and make the film even better. So yes.
And obviously, because previous to RoohiAfza, we had a film like Stree, which I believe was also produced by Maddox Films as well.
Yes. Amar
Yes. So the fact that obviously that film did really well, I think it was one of the first Bollywood films to really.
It is because of Stree that RoohiAfza got made, in a way. So,
right. Yeah. Okay, that's exactly what I was gonna come at. I was like, is that what gave you the confidence to do a film like RoohiAfza?
Yes, absolutely. Amar is somebody who I really look up to. I really, really love the confidence that the guy has with the material. So, and Stree was out there for everybody to see. So I mean, I'm happy that I have contemporaries like Amar, where once he has done something adventurous, I'm getting that liberty, I'm getting that license to now go ahead and do something, while I have done my part of adventure also in terms of Kaamyaab, but of course it's because of the great box office result of Stree that a film like RoohiAfza is possible, and I'm glad that Amar didn't choose to direct another horror comedy, and it led me an opportunity to make that film. So yeah.
And I think the fact that Kaamyaab has been received so well, and because it's doing so well, I think that as well. I think to some extent, a lot of people now will probably wait for RoohiAfza with more bated breaths because of the fact that they've seen your work in films like Kaamyaab. So I think possibly that's also a reason why it's good as well that you're doing it.
Yes. And RoohiAfza has a lot of comedy actually. So so it should be fun.
I can imagine. Okay, right. I've got to ask you this burning question: when is it releasing? Because I think there's been a lot of hearsay about when the film schedule is gonna, when it's gonna release. But
that is a question that I will ask you to ask my producer, because right now we are in challenging times.
Yeah.
And a lot of money is riding on a lot of films actually. So I think the producers are also waiting and keeping a watch on how things are turning out. But yeah, I mean, I'm very glad that I have very confident producers, and they are going to take care of the film in the best possible way.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm also waiting because I'm hearing Tenet is going to release in cinema halls in July. So if Christopher Nolan leads the way, then well,
yeah,
I think
exactly. I think exactly. Well, that's great because then we can go and support Dimple Ma'am, right? We can go and support Dimple.
Of course.
So I guess that will work out well. But I think so. The film's actually been shot. It's all completed, right?
Yeah. The film is
Okay, cool. So it's all on the call of the producers now. Okay,
yeah,
that's cool. Okay, on a final note, Hardik, we were talking about the definition of success, the definition of Kaamyaab, and what it means to individuals. So post-lockdown, what will be your definition of Kaamyaab?
That gives me the liberty to choose the project that I want to do and not be a cog in the system. If that would be real Kaamyabi, that I can choose what I want to do now rather than being told that, oh, you do this or maybe, but I don't think so that kind of a situation will happen because right now, thanks to the success of Kaamyaab, there would be producers who would be willing to say or willing to give that opportunity that, go ahead and make something that you really feel like. And I hope that we get good actors because, I think the support of good actors and good stars is what a director needs. So
Hmm.
I think another Kaamyaab quotient would be actually to get good actors and good stars on board for the next one. Yeah.
But honestly, Hardik, thank you so much for joining me for today's In Conversation with. I think a lot of the viewers, I think, will definitely enjoy sort of hearing your experiences, and especially aspiring filmmakers as well. So,
Sure. I'm going to share this also because that Instagram didn't go well. So I'm going to share this interview once you upload it. So, I mean, we
thank
can
you.
reach to as many people that is possible.
Oh, thank you so much. But Hardik, wishing you all the very best for your next coming up projects, and of course your present ones as well. And hopefully we'll see RoohiAfza at a cinema, regardless of
Yes.
what that cinema is, very soon near us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anuj, and all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Stay safe.
Thanks.